Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's On the Sofa. A couple of announcements. First of all, I want to pay tribute to a gentleman that I used to spend a Wednesday morning with at the Community Foundation on one of their sessions, Graham Clark, lifelong Swindon supporter who sadly passed away just over a week ago. So rest in peace, Graham, and love to all the family. Lovely to see everybody at Supermarine. Lots of friends met there, so and a lovely 4-1 win. And in my opinion, very encouraging for the season. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to bring Vic on now, and then we just go through another few bits. Good evening, Mr. Morgan.
Hello to you. Yeah, welcome to a very, very wet Devon. That's all I can say. It is chucking it down. But anyway, there we go.
Well, I can match you there. It's a very, very wet day up here, evening up here as well. So don't get jealous. We've got the same.
It's July and I've got a jumper on. What more can you find out? Of course, we should say all the very best to Harley Hunt, the teenager who's left Swindon Town today and has joined Middlesbrough. So we wish him all the very best. He had a couple of Football League games at the end of last season. My, oh my, what a prospect he looks. So we wish him all the very best. And, of course, under the tutelage of Michael Carrick, I'm sure he'll do very well up there. At Ayrton, I was going to say Ayrton Park. It's the Riverside. Of course, I was going to say Ayrton Park, of course, to our guest tonight, who's very well known in those parts. And can I just say how excited I am to be talking to our guest tonight? Don't tell him, though, because I'll be professional.
Tonight, Vic is going to be very starstruck. Okay, so
just a little bit.
It's a bit sort of that's why. So tomorrow night we're at Hungerford. So if anybody's going there, so I will see you there. Hopefully, it's a bit better weather. Saturday was it was a bit of everything on Saturday. Torrential rain and sun, so didn't know what it was doing. But also want to say that our membership for the OSC is now open. So anybody that's not a season ticket holder, because season ticket holders do get free membership to the OSC. So if you're not a season ticket holder and you do want to join, it's £5 for the season. And I'm going to put the address tickering along the bottom shortly. Also, for your match day draw, we do a subscription system, so you can buy for £23 a ticket a week, and we will allocate you a number. Again, that's on our website, which you will see the address for in a moment. So, Vic, are you okay for this? Are you calm, collected, and yes,
settled?
You sure?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Settled. Right. I now announce our guest this evening is Mr. Arthur Horsfield.
Good evening.
Hi, Rob.
Good evening.
How are you? You okay?
I'm fine.
Good.
I have to say, of the many of these that we've done, there are very few have had a street named after them. So it's quite an honour to have you on, Arthur Horsfield, I can tell you.
It's a bit different as well, Vic, because they spelt my name wrong on one side of the road. Horsfield with an E on one side, Horsfield without an E on the other side.
On the other side.
Oh, well. You can't have everything, can you?
Unique. Right, I'm going to leave you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and we'll get through as many as we can. And I'll see you later.
Chris, thanks very much indeed. Great pleasure to talk to you. It's at Dartford, of course, that is where your street is. And we'll get to that a little later because that's where you kind of finished your career. But let's start off at the beginning of your career. We mentioned a young kid from Swindon, Harley Hunt, has gone up to Middlesbrough today under the tutelage of Michael Carrick. And of course, that's where you started your career. But I wanted to say happy birthday to you because it was a couple of days ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 days ago, I was 78.
Well, there you are. You look a very good 78. That's all I can say.
Born in
Newcastle. So obviously a Magpie, I'm guessing.
Still.
So, yeah. Why Middlesbrough then? What happened? How did you get signed for them?
Well, I played schoolboy football, representing Newcastle from under 9s, from 9-year-old in the under 11s. and progressed through. And I was picked up by a scout from Middlesbrough who actually lived in Newcastle, and he was the first one to knock on my door. A guy called Joe Sooms, and at that time I think I was 14 or 15. And I don't know at the time whether they were allowed to approach you, but he was the first one to knock on the door. So I had a choice of half a dozen clubs, I suppose. But because he was first, and I did have relations in Middlesbrough as well. So that was, my father's sister lived in Middlesbrough. And she was married to an Arthur Horsfield. He also had a cousin who was there, and he was also Arthur Horsfield.
No.
So there were 4 of us in the family. But as I said, the reason I went to Middlesbrough was first one to knock on the door. Simple as that.
Simple as that. But you spent a fair old time there, didn't you? As a youth player, and then, of course, as a first-team player. Yeah. And you were part of a very successful Middlesbrough team that gained promotion. Yes,
we did. And a lot of those lads came through the youth system at Middlesbrough as well. Don Masson, Jeff Butler, Derek Downing, Des McPartland, the goalkeeper. Eric McMody came through the youth system, who was an Irish international, became an Irish international. Frank Spraggan. So yeah, we all played together, played through the youth side, the junior side, the reserve team, and got into the first team. I was fortunate enough, I signed for Middlesbrough when I was 16, when I left school. When I was 17, he offered me a professional contract full-time, because before that I'd been an apprentice. I was also an apprentice electrician at the same time. Never did see any electricity, but when I was offered the professional contract, didn't have any hesitation giving up the electrical work, and became a first team, became a full-time pro. And I was 17 in the July, and I made my debut for Middlesbrough about 2 months later. So I played a dozen games in the first team when I was 17 years old. And I think I scored 8 goals in those 12 games.
Incredible. I mean, what was that step up like from youth? We often talk about this, the step up from youth football to men's football, if you like. How different was it?
I think from my point of view, I did score an awful lot of goals. And it didn't seem too different to be able to stick the ball in the net against professionals as it did against youth teams and reserve teams and that sort of thing. I was pretty good at it. And, I was following Brian Clough had left, not before that long. Mm-hmm. Alan Peacock was an England international. And it was Peacock's place I took because he was injured. So I deputised for him.
Wow. But is that a natural thing, though, Arthur? You know, the ability to find the back of the net. Is that a natural thing about knowing where to go, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think with me, I always felt it was a natural thing. If you look back at my whole career and all the goals I scored, I think I probably scored 2 from outside the penalty area. And it was being in the right place at the right time. Simple as that. And one of my managers said to me once over, your job's in the penalty box. I don't want you going anywhere else.
So would you, in modern parlance, be known as a fox in the box? Is that how you would be known now?
there's all sorts of names for it, but yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
It was just it was being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Despite the promotion, etc., you were an England youth international as well. We should say, of course.
Yeah.
Bit of a disagreement with Stan Anderson. So you end up going to your boyhood club. How did that happen?
Well, I was the season Middlesbrough got promoted. If I think without having the facts and figures in front of me, I'm pretty sure in that season we got promoted. I scored 23 goals in the promotion year, and I was in out the side. And I felt if you ever made a change to the side, I was the one who kept getting left out. And I went in and I thought, I've got to have a go about this. I just got married, and it wasn't doing me any good being in and out the side. And we had a bit of a row, bit of a bust-up. And I said to him, I'm not putting up with it. He did swear at me. I swore back.
Yes.
And I said, you'll get it in the post tomorrow morning. And to be honest, the following day, I did write the transfer request out and took it in. But within a day, he called me in the office and said, Joe Harvey wants to speak to you at Newcastle. So off I went. And I was born about a mile from St. James's Park. And it was a no-brainer. If they had offered me a contract, yeah, I'd have gone there. Of course I did.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the point is we'll get to playing for Newcastle in a minute, but one or two comments coming in already. This is from Peter. King Arthur, so many memories. Thank you. Rob says, I remember the chant from the town end, Arthur, Arthur Horsfield. And Christian says, a true legend. So people do remember you fondly, and why wouldn't they? So Newcastle then, you're a boyhood magpie, still are, as you've said.
Yeah, still
black and white blood in your veins, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
and you get to pull on that famous shirt. How does that feel?
Fantastic, actually. I had a strange time in Newcastle because I made my debut away at Manchester City, and they played Newcastle in the Cup. I think the week I signed. So they were playing a replay on the Wednesday night. So I travelled on the Wednesday night we stayed in Blackpool, watched them play Manchester City. And then on the Saturday, I made my debut against Manchester City. And I scored in the first minute. And it was a wet and windy day, heavy rain. First minute, I think it was Pop Robson crossed it. And the goalkeeper, Harry Dowd, was at the near post, went to catch it, went through his hands, popped up in the air, and I smacked it in. I was only about 3 yards out. And as he dived to try and stop it, he broke his nose against my knee.
Oh.
So we'd scored in the first minute. And at half time, literally the heavens opened, not too dissimilar to the present weather. And the game was abandoned at half time. So that goal never counted in my tally.
Oh, that's well. I understand that, but take us through that feeling then, because as a kid, I'm guessing you dreamt about scoring for Newcastle, and
blimey,
you did. So at that immediate moment, how was that?
Oh, absolute biggest thing in my life at that time. I was 23, I think, and yeah, greatest moment of my life at that time in football. But as I say, that didn't count.
Well, it'll count. Well, it counts for you, doesn't it?
Oh, it did to me, yeah.
Yeah, of course. You did score other goals, though. 3 goals in 9 appearances.
Yeah, I scored on my home debut for Newcastle. We played Burnley, and I scored the only goal of the game. And unfortunately, for for my family, my dad wasn't there, my uncle wasn't there, and my cousin, who was absolutely black and white daft, he got married that day.
Oh.
And he had his wedding reception about 100 yards down from St James's Park.
How was that allowed to happen, Arthur? That's not good enough,
well,
is it?
At the time he booked his wedding, I don't think he realised I was going to sign for Newcastle.
Yeah,
so I did forgive him that. But
okay.
I don't think he forgave himself.
Was that at the Gallagate then? Did you score at the Gallagate end?
I scored, no, in the Leazes end.
Fair enough. But even
I scored at the Leazes end. Yeah.
And this was a Newcastle team, of course. Fairs Cup success came their way around about then, didn't it?
That's right. I only played one match in the Fairs Cup. I played against Setúbal at home. Travelled to Portugal for the return. But by the time Newcastle actually won the cup, I'd signed for Swindon.
Yeah, it remains their last major honour as well, doesn't it?
It was, yeah. It still is.
Yeah.
Now and again they have reunions, but like everything, I mean, I've just said that I'm 78 now. A lot of the players have passed on. You know, there's not too many. I spoke to someone the other day, and I think he said there was only about 5 of them still alive, and they had a lot of young lads in that side as well.
Sure.
Alan Fogg, Keith Dyson, people like that.
And people like Wyn Davis, who was a great player as well.
Wyn's still going.
Good, yeah.
Wyn was, I think, somebody told me, I think he was something like 84 or 85 a few weeks ago. So Wyn's still about.
Well, that's good to know. Now, the move to Swindon's a strange one, isn't it? Because obviously Swindon the season before had won the League Cup, their last major honour, sadly. And Danny Williams, you come to Danny Williams' attention, and I couldn't get over this when I kept checking this, £17,500, which, my goodness me, you wouldn't get a bucket of chicken for £17,500 these days. But to get a prolific goal scorer like you, that seems incredible. But nothing personal, I'm guessing. Danny then decides to up to Sheffield Wednesday. So Fred Ford comes in.
I never played a game for Danny.
No.
I didn't play a game. I signed in, I think I signed in the June or something. And when I came to go to pre-season training, Danny had gone. So I finished up in a hotel. And didn't see Danny again. Never saw Danny again.
But you were joining a team who got promotion, won the League Cup at Wembley, of course. So how difficult was it to sort of fit in? Were they welcoming straight away?
Very welcoming. There was 3 ex-Newcastle players there. To be fair, I didn't know any of them. Peter Noble, Willie Penman, and Joe Butler.
Yeah.
And there was an ex-Middlesbrough player there who I knew, Don Heath.
Yes.
So, 5 lads from the northeast. I think that's where my accent had to change, because the local boys couldn't understand us when we got together.
Well, I saw Joey not too long ago, and his accent's still very strong, so you can still tell.
Well, mine is as well, but I had to slow down so that people could understand me. But if we go back to the northeast, it doesn't take too long to pick up speed again.
No, I'm sure. A decent enough start. I think you lost the first game of the season at Blackburn, but you got goals at home against Carlisle in a 2-2 draw. Your 2 goals. And to get 2 at home on your home debut, that's okay, isn't it? That sets you off and running.
Yeah, I suppose I was fortunate. I think all the clubs I played for, I think I scored on my debut. I might not have scored for Watford, but I think the other clubs I scored for Newcastle on my debut, Scored when I was 17-year-old at Middlesbrough. Swindon I scored. I think Charlton I definitely scored. I know I scored at Charlton. So, yeah, I was fortunate like that. Being in the right place at the right time.
There you go, Fox in the box. Now, this is a season where Swindon have come up. They've got a fabulous team, as you well know, the likes of Don Rogers, John Trollope, Frank Burrows, Stan Harlan. You could reel off the names, simple as that, really. Did you realise how good they were?
No, I didn't. I really didn't. And I think one of the things that season, from my point of view, from all our points of view, was quite disappointing that we didn't get promoted again.
Yeah.
We were in the mix all the way through the season. And I think one of the reasons we were in there was we played a fairly consistent side. There wasn't an awful lot of changes made. We had a good keeper. Peter Downs was a very good keeper. Got a Welsh international fullback, Tomo.
Yeah.
John Trollope left back. Joe Butler in the middle of the park, and then you had Frank Burrows and Stan Harland, two central defenders who, we were solid. It was myself and Peter Noble up front, and Don Rogers. He was exceptional. Johnny Smith in the middle of the park, and Roger, who ran everywhere. Smarty went everywhere, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you had a couple of other players on the fringe who came in and never let the team down. But it was a fairly consistent side that played together well and all got on. We all got on.
How did your partnership with Peter Noble work? Because I always thought about Peter Noble. He was one of the great underrated players, really. He went on and had a fabulous career at Burnley, didn't he? Yeah. At the top level. And you look back now and you think, as an inside forward, they weren't a lot better than Peter Noble, were they? So how did your partnership work?
Well, I think in those days, tactics were totally different than what we have at the moment, or what's happened since. Most teams in those days played with two people wide, right and left winger, a big centre forward, and the little fella played off the centre forward. And that's how we played. When I came to Charlton, that's how we played. We played two wingers, myself and Derek Hales. And most teams played like that. Peter was very sharp round the box, brave as a lion. And he could play. Peter could play.
Yeah, he certainly could. And obviously missed greatly too. This going through this season, not only did you play a full league season, but of course you had a great cup run as well. We'll not mention the League Cup run because I think you won the first round and then you lost the second round at a place beginning with O. The name escapes me. But in the FA Cup, you had a really good run. And I was watching this afternoon. I was there in the town on the day, but I was watching the game against Scunthorpe, and you scored. It was a rather interesting piece in the big match at the time because they said the best goal of the day was scored in that one, and the funniest goal of the day was scored in that one. Yeah. Noble's was the best. Yours was the funniest. And I looked at that pitch. And I looked at the pitch and I thought, how on earth did you play football on that? I mean, it was a mud heap, wasn't it?
It's funny actually because since you contacted me, I've looked at a couple of videos from my time at Swindon, and in one of them, the pitch is absolutely brilliant. And I'm not sure which game it was. I can't remember now, but the pitch looked fabulous. But for that Scunthorpe game, I mean, it was January, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things I can remember somebody saying to me one day, when you go out onto the pitch from the changing rooms, turn to the left, because if you turn right, there's a tractor buried beneath the mud. And, you know, the pitch was terrible, but the weather that day was bad. And a certain Mr. Keegan played in that game as well.
Absolutely, he did, yeah. I think there was a story that he might have signed for Swindon around that time as well. But
I know Fred Ford tried to buy him.
Yeah, yeah.
How would history? He offered more for Keegan than paid for me.
Well, 30,000 I heard.
He offered 20,000 for him.
Yeah, that's right. But the board said he was too small or something, so they didn't want to pay that much money for somebody so small. How would history have turned out if he'd signed for Swindon, Arthur? That would have been an interesting one, wouldn't it?
Well, if he'd signed for Swindon in that first season, I think I'm pretty sure we'd have got promoted.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, I looked at that goal again, and it was a weird one because Don, I think, crossed it in from the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And you went down to head it, and then got a touch on it. The keeper saved it, and then you sort of bundled it in.
Yeah, I sat up. Up and knocked it in. Yeah, I slid into it, I think, and it came back. It bobbed up off the keeper, and I sort of, I don't know. I sat up, and as I sat up, it was there in front of me, and I just headed it into the empty net.
Well, that was the precursor, of course, to the meeting in the next round against the mighty Leeds, who were the mighty Leeds at that point, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How was that game? Because I think Sniffer Clark got a couple in about 2 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah.
How was it playing against them?
Yeah, that was a hard place to play, and they didn't take any prisoners. These were one of the clubs I could have gone to when I was when I went to Middlesbrough, and no matter what they said about Don Revie, I got off the coach that day, and he come across and shook my hand and said, "Welcome to Leeds. I haven't forgotten you, but you've done well for yourself." And I couldn't believe that Don Revie came across and spoke to me like that.
Well, that's fair enough. Yeah.
It was a hard place to play. We were outclassed, I think. To be honest, I think we were slightly overrode the fact that we was at Leeds. And it was a team full of international players, and they steamrolled you. You know, you could have gone through, I mean, Charlton and Hunter at the back for them, Lumanek. I think that was one of the hardest combinations I ever played against.
So the FA Cup comes to an end, but of course, promotion is still very much up to grabs. And let me just give you the top of the table after the end of the season, and this will tell you how close you were to getting promotion to the First Division. Now, Huddersfield won it. They got 60 points from 42 games. Then came Blackpool, 53 from 42. Leicester were third with 51 points. Middlesbrough, your old club, were in fourth place with 50 from 42, as were Swindon, who finished fifth on goal average. Now, you were 3 points away from actually getting promotion to Division 1. And a point of that was given away, of course, against Blackpool on a Monday night, I seem to remember, for 28,000 people. And you scored after 4 minutes.
Yeah. It was, I don't know whether we bottle it? I don't know. I don't think we did. We knew the chance we had to get up. We knew what we had to do. But looking back, I think once we didn't beat Blackpool, we knew that was it. I don't really know what happened, to be honest. We just didn't finish as we'd had decent runs during the season. We just didn't finish. I mean, obviously, I think the team at the top won it by a street. Huddersfield, was it?
Yeah.
And other teams round about them, I really can't give you a reason why we did what we did. But we lost form at the wrong time, if you like. Really
well, would the amount of games have played a part? Because in that FA Cup run, you played Blackburn, won away 4-0. You beat Chester 4-2. You beat Scunthorpe 3-1 and then lost to Leeds. I think you played over 50 games that season. Would that have had an effect on you, do you think?
I would say definitely not. The reason I say that is perhaps I'm being old-fashioned, but you ask any player from my generation or players probably younger than me, what would you rather do during the week? We used to play Saturday, play Wednesday, play Saturday. And if that's what we did, we loved it because we weren't training during the week. A training day was long runs, hard laps of the pitch, sprints, that sort of thing. That was mostly on a Thursday at most clubs. If you played Wednesday night, you didn't do that on a Thursday. So in effect, you trained. Monday mornings was fairly light, bit of fun, 5-a-side, that sort of thing. Tuesdays, warm up, 5-a-side again, play Wednesday, have Thursday off, Friday mornings, light training, played again Saturday. And, you know, everybody I've ever spoken to, we loved that.
Sure.
We absolutely loved that.
I mean, I wondered how you get on pitches these days like they are now, because they're carpets, aren't they? Even at the end of the season, they're carpets.
Well, they certainly weren't, you know. I'm not sure how I would play on them, to be honest. I was never quick. I was fairly quick over 5 yards in the box, but make me run 15 or 20 yards, or in training, I hated training. Pre-season training used to murder me. I absolutely hated it, even when I was in the early 20s. Didn't like it. Cross-country running at school and that sort of thing, I just didn't do. Do 100-yard sprints, 80 yards hurdles, but training was never my favourite. And I'm sure I wasn't alone.
No, but then you look at the players like John Trollope, of course, what longevity he had in the game. You know, 770 league games for Swindon. Yeah. Fit as a butcher's dog, as they say. Incredible, really. Now, what we've not mentioned yet, of course, is this little thing here.
Yeah.
The Anglo-Italian League Cup Winners' Cup. Now, Swindon, as you're well aware, weren't allowed to play in the Intercities Fairs Cup because, ridiculously, they weren't a first division team, which seems to be the unfairest rule of all time to me. And the team that won the Fairs Cup that year were Arsenal, the team that beat in the League Cup final. So, hey, go figure. But now you lost away at Roma. But then, of course, the home leg, Wednesday, the 10th of September, 1969, Swindon Town 4, AS Roma 0, 1A Horsfield gets a hat trick. What are your memories of that game?
Obviously good memories, but it was the first time that I played in any sort of competition like that. Although I played for Newcastle in the Fairs Cup, but I only played half that match. It was the first time I'd been a regular in the side. I don't know. We played in Rome. And we lost, but we didn't lose that badly, and we always felt we had a damn good chance of beating them at home. I must admit, I think I was a bit surprised by the scoreline, but we played them off the park that night. It was the first time I'd come across, I don't know what to call it, the way the Continentals grabbed your shirts and nicked you and elbowed you and scratched you and that sort of thing, where we were used to sort of face-to-face stuff. They did a lot of off-the-ball stuff. I remember Peter Noble getting a smack in the nose in one of the games that we played, and the ball was at the other end of the pitch. And, that's how they played.
It's interesting because I spoke to Don Rogers about the very same subject, and he said exactly the same, that it was the first time he'd come across anything like that. And they were surprised. But the Italians were also surprised about how you played on the front foot, because their game was very much a sort of build from the back game, wasn't it? A very much slower affair.
Yeah. But I think, Don and John Trollope, and Don Heath when he played, John Smith, they were so direct. I don't think the Italians were used to so much pressure at the back, balls being thrown into the box and that sort of thing, and physical challenges at the back like that as well.
Sure. Some more memories coming in. This is from Christopher. He says, I remember the end of the 69-70 season. In our last 3 games, we drew 1-1 at home to Blackpool, lost 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough. I remember that one very well. I'm sure you do as well. Yeah. Blackpool went up as runners-up. If we could have won those 2 games, we would have gone up instead of Blackpool. They had 53 points. We had 50, as we've just said earlier. What a top bloke, said Rhys James. Peter says, Blackpool game, Jimmy Armfield, of course, played in that. He very much did. An incredible, what a player. And lost him not too long ago, of course. A nice gentleman as well. I met him on several occasions because he became a reporter, didn't he, in his later years. Yeah. I mean, he, to play against people like that, that is, he was a decent player, wasn't he, Jimmy Armfield?
Oh, Jimmy was a good player. Very good player.
Yeah. David says, Anglo-Italian hero, Arthur, never quick. Well, as you said, you're quick over first 5-10 yards.
It was anticipation, 4 or 5 yards, but it's been in the right place at the right time. Never was quick.
Right, well, that's one Anglo-Italian Cup in the drawer, in the cupboard, which there is. Lovely memories of that. And we'll make sure we get copies of these programs to you, Arthur, as well. But I know you'd love to see them.
I think
so. My
son would like to see them as well.
Yeah, let's move on to Saturday, May the 2nd, then, 1970. Swindon Town 4, Juventus 0. Would you believe? Juventus.
Yeah.
And again, Arthur Horsfield, 2 of those goals. Now, this is the end of a long season. You're playing one of the great European teams. There's no question about them. And you take them to pieces. Stan Harlan scores a goal from 50 yards, if I remember rightly. And this is, one of the greats of European football. And you absolutely take them to pieces. What do you remember of that one?
Not a lot, to be honest. At the end of the season, we obviously we were a bit disappointed in not getting promoted, but we got that was like a consolation. We're going out to Italy again. It was a new competition with new rules. You got a goal, every goal counted as a point, and there was obviously the other English clubs in it, and Middlesbrough being one of them. But the way we played in that, we won both our away games. We won in Napoli and we won at Juventus.
Yeah, because you lost the home game against Napoli, didn't you?
That's right. We lost at home. But we got a couple. Didn't we get a couple of points in that?
Yeah.
We scored. So we didn't come out of that empty-handed. But what got us, well, obviously the fact that we won 4-0 got us 6 points for that, didn't it? And then And then we went and won both games in Italy. And we got
you won at Juventus and you won in Napoli, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy stuff for a team who's just come up from the third division and they're beating teams like that away from home. It's amazing.
And the funny thing was, once we were out there, where we were staying, Positano, there was no training facilities. The only thing we could train on was we could have a game of tennis. And Fred Ford liked the game of tennis. But there was a few of us who quickly realised if we got knocked out the tennis in the first round, we didn't have to do any more. So we spent most of the time on the beach.
Fair enough. Well, it didn't do you any harm, did it? I suppose you needed it at the end of the season anyway, didn't you? You needed to relax a bit.
We didn't look at it like that at all. I never... It was nice to have the time off because if you think back to then, you were finished playing the weekend before the cup final.
And
you didn't go back until this sort of time. So the cup final was played the first Saturday in May. So you actually finished playing April. So I had the whole of May, the whole of June, and part of July off. So you would have a break of about 10 weeks. That was why I hated pre-season training.
Yeah.
Because you lost your condition and then you went back and had to start again.
Sure. David says, lovely to hear, Arthur. A great goal scorer, my schoolboy hero. So how about that? That's lovely, isn't it? So you beat both Juventus and Napoli in the group games. And of course, you finished top of your group of the English teams. Napoli finished top of the group of the Italian teams. So you meet again in the final. Now, that final, a 3-0 victory. You get the third goal. And then I think it's fair to say it gets a bit hairy, doesn't it?
More than hairy. It's the stadium had seats with the part you sat on was a concrete strip, 2 concrete strips across the 2 sides stood up, and the supporters stood on these concrete strips, who were about 3-4 inches wide, and just jumped and broke them. And they're flinging them at us on the pitch. And we got in the middle of the pitch. The referee took us to the middle of the pitch and then took us off the pitch. Well, we just didn't come back on the game, got abandoned. And we were awarded the trophy. I think there was 12 minutes to play. There was absolutely no way they were going to beat us.
How hairy was it, though? I mean, you know, this is
well, it was.
I would imagine this is the first time you come across anything like that, isn't it?
First time we seen some trouble in English grounds, not a lot, but nothing like that. But the thing was, we were separated from the supporters by a moat, which was about 6 foot deep. So where the supporters were, there wasn't water in it, but they couldn't get on the pitch. They couldn't get at us. And there was plenty of police there. So we just congregated in the centre circle. And, we came off. I remember Fred Ford walking off. And Fred was, I wouldn't use his exact language, but he said, we fought them in the wall, and he walked off, and he didn't even try to shelter his head or anything like that. He just walked through the whole lot and went down the steps into the changing rooms.
Now, you got presented the trophy, and I think you got your medals. Have you got your medals handy there?
I think so. Oh, yeah, I've got the medal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's This is the medal for the
Oh, lovely. Anglo-Italian Cup one. Yeah.
yeah. Italian, yeah.
Yeah, lovely. It's upside down, Arthur, but never mind. Do you want to turn it around the other way? That's beautiful. That's lovely. Fantastic.
That's 18-carat gold.
Yeah.
And the other one was for the other, and for the other one, look.
League Cup Winners' Cup. There it is. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Goodness me. Do you take them out every so often and have a look?
They stay in a drawer in my dressing table and have been there for years.
Have they?
It's funny, actually, in these days where people have all the sorts of souvenirs, swap shirts, etc. We didn't always swap shirts, but I did have, I had a Napoli shirt. I had a Sampdoria shirt. I think it was one of those. I used to clean my car with them. I used to dry the car, so I haven't got them. You know, my son goes absolutely mad. Well, you must be crackers.
I'm not surprised.
But I don't know. They were in my garage and I cleaned the car.
Because the following year you played Sampdoria, didn't you? And you beat them 4-1 at home, I think. And you scored in that one as well.
Yeah, but we went out the trophy that year, didn't we?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you lost at Blackpool won it eventually, which is yeah. You didn't quite make. You were nearly there. You didn't quite make it though. Did you?
Yeah.
What a fabulous season. Some more memories coming in. This is from Daz. He says Capello played in both legs against Swindon. Roma winning 2-1 at home and the first leg, but losing 4-0 at the second leg at the counter. Fabio Capello, of course, who was later to become England manager, played for AS Roma.
That's right. Yeah. To be honest, it's only fairly recently, within the last couple of years, that somebody said to me, "Did you realise Capello? You played against Capello?" I hadn't realised. I just once I came out of football, I don't know. I haven't lost it. There's my other half.
Oh, do you need to go and answer that?
No. She knows what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, I've got a couple of messages here from Tony, who says, Arthur was our hero as boys, always signed our programmes. We were sitting on the row of benches in front of the wooden stand by the tunnel. Always so good to us. Very good memories. Cheers. So there you go. That's the old stand, the old wooden stand, isn't it? Which is no longer there, of course. Yeah. Now, the following season, not so good for Swindon. You finished 12th in the table, 42 played, 42 points. And one D. Mackay sort of comes on the scene, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then that was the beginning of the end, really, of that great team in a way. He took over from Fred Ford the following season, 71-72, after, ironically, a 1-0 home defeat to Middlesbrough. How often they feature. What are your memories of Dave Mackay?
I mean, obviously, Dave was a great player and a pretty good manager. But Dave didn't see me as an ideal player for him. And I don't know. I think I scored 18 goals that season, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Which I think these days they'd be more than happy with 18 goals. But he obviously wanted to see the back of me and wanted somebody, shall we say, a bit quicker and a bit sharper. But yeah, it is what it is, or it was what it was. I'd never been. I left Middlesbrough because I wasn't getting a regular game. Newcastle to Swindon I was absolutely amazed when Joe Harvey said, "Would you like to go to Swindon?" At that time, Newcastle had a bit of a reputation for buying players, not keeping them very long, and selling them on. Somebody said to me at one stage they thought it was a tax dodge. They'd sign you before the end of one tax year and sell you at the beginning of the next tax year. Whether that was true or not, I don't know. But
I think Dave Mackay brought Ray Tracy in, hadn't he? Yeah, because Ray Tracy had come in, hadn't he?
Yeah, he brought Ray Tracy in. And he said, I mean, to be fair to Dave, he did say to me, you don't have to go, but Charlton would like to sign you. And to be honest, moving to London, I thought, oh no, that's the one place I don't want to go. And my wife wasn't very happy. But I spoke to Theo Foley, and he convinced me that I would do well there, that the club would do well. And I decided to join, and I joined them. And within a week, I think a week or so of me joining, they sold the best player to Leyton Orient. They sold Paul Went to Leyton Orient.
Oh, good player, yeah.
Yeah. But a week I got promoted with Charlton, and I played for Charlton for 3 seasons, and I believe I still hold the record for the most consecutive games for an outfield player.
Because I think you said you'd not missed a game for 3 seasons. Is that right?
That's right. I played 139 games consecutively.
Amazing. More comments coming in. Oh, there's the phone again. I'll read them out while the phone rings. I recall your headed goal at Ashton Gate in the very early 70s, although we lost 2 or 3-1. Townend song, this is Trevor, for we've got Arthur Horsfield. He's the king of them all. And this is from Paul. Where did the nickname Dobbin come in? Because you must remember that nickname you had at Swindon. I'm guessing it's from your surname, is it? I mean, it must be.
It's bound to be.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah,
probably because I was so slow.
Right, where are we going? Oh yeah, Charlton. So 3 seasons there, and then you get sold to Watford. I don't think you were terribly keen on that one, were you?
No, it was another one where the manager, he rang me up one day and said, "Can you come in early in the morning?"
Nope, there's your mobile now.
Yeah. Well,
do you want to answer that, and I'll read some more messages out while you answer it, and then you can come back to us because I wouldn't want to leave anybody guessing on things. Dave Mackay ruined Swindon Town at the time. Thank goodness he was only here for 1 season, and then of course he went off to, was it Nottingham Forest, I think, memory serves, with Des Anderson, his assistant. So that was what happened to Dave Mackay. So we're going through Arthur Horsfield's career. He's sort of left Charlton and he's about to sign for Watford. And he's just answered his mobile phone. He's sitting back down, and the great man's back with us.
I haven't answered it, but it's my other half on the phone.
Okay, fair enough. Right, Watford then. Not something you desperately wanted to do.
No. I got a phone call from the Charlton manager, Andy Nelson, and he said to me, "Can you come in early tomorrow? I've sold you to Watford." I said, "You sold me to Watford?" What? And I was absolutely flabbergasted. I just couldn't believe it. At that time, Watford were a 4th division side. I played 139 consecutive games for Charlton. We'd just been promoted. I was a top paid player at Charlton. And I thought, so what do I do about this? So I rang Theo Foley. I told him what had happened. So he just said, "Well, ask for outrageous money." He said, "And stay where you are, see what happens." So I asked for 40 quid a week more than I was getting at Charlton. And I was a top paid player at Charlton. And I went to Watford, and Elton John obviously was the chairman, and he said, "Yeah, okay." I was speechless, absolutely. I thought I should have asked for more. But that was a big mistake. I honestly, by that time though, I was playing centre half. I wasn't playing centre forward, and that was one of the reasons I was disappointed with Charlton, because I'd done Andy Nelson a favour. I'd gone to centre half when he was struggling for a centre half, and hello, can you hear? She must know I'm doing this. So, as I say, I'd done him a favour and he sold me. And I thought, well, obviously he doesn't want me, so I shall go. And that was, if I was to say the biggest mistake I made, it was, I should never have gone there. I should have sat where I was and see what happened. See if anybody else came in for me. Because my agreement with Watford was to travel every day. And I don't know how well you know this area, but you've got to go through the Blackwall Tunnel every morning to Watford.
We should explain, you're in Kent, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in Gravesend in Kent.
Yeah.
And it was horrendous. I was never late. I got there 10 o'clock every morning for training, but I didn't enjoy it. I agreed that I didn't have to travel on a Friday, because Fridays was a sort of warm-up day, very light training day, and I live 200 yards from the sports field, so I was able to go there. But I really didn't enjoy my time at Watford.
They offered you a coaching role, I think, at the end, didn't they?
Yeah, Graham Taylor asked me if I would. I was 29, just coming up 30. Asked me if I was interested in taking the reserve side, and I said, I'm too young. Probably a mistake. But to be honest, if I'd done that, Graham wanted his players to shop in the town centre where Watford was, where they lived. He wanted his players to live there and shop there. And obviously he was successful, so he was probably right in that respect. But I had my children in school, and I didn't want to move there. So Elton John's uncle was a guy called Roy Dwight, who played for Notts Forest in the cup final in the 50s. 58.
Broke his leg, famously broke his leg, didn't he?
Yeah, Roy.
Yeah.
And he was manager at Dartford. And he came and asked me if I was going to Dartford on loan. And I said I would. Dartford's 10 miles from here. And he asked me if I would join him permanently. And a job came up in my local Residents Association Centre, running the Residents Association Club. And I thought, I'll apply for that. So I got that job, and I was playing for Dartford. So I was better off financially. I was better off. I had 2 wages. And then I played for Dartford a couple of seasons. I got an ankle injury, which kept me out for an awful long time. And all it was a piece of board flaked, and they couldn't find out they couldn't get it out or do whatever with it. And I eventually got rid of it. But by that time, Graham Carr had taken over as manager, and we'd started a youth side, and I was running the youth side.
Because then they got into a bit of financial trouble, I think, and this is this is why the street is named after you, isn't it? Because didn't they build houses on the old ground? They got a wonderful new ground where Swindon played in the FA Cup a few seasons ago and won 5-0, if I remember. But the old ground had houses built on it, and hence Horsfield Close.
Hence Horsfield Close, Hunt Close, Peter Hunt, Berman Close, Tony Berman, and the other one, what's his name? Lad who played centre half for Dartford. He managed down a Kent club for a long time. Can't remember his name. Paul
says, I've seen the old big match games where Arthur played at centre half for Charlton. Did you enjoy that? Because often with the great Andy Rowland, who sadly passed away not too long ago, he dropped back later in his career from centre forward to centre half. Is that an easy transition? Because you know kind of all the tricks, don't you?
Well, you're facing the ball all the time. You're facing, when you're centre forward, you're playing with your back to goal. As a centre half, you're not. Everything's in front of you. And I must admit, Andy Nelson, who I played centre half for Charlton, was a centre half. So his coaching was quite good. And we signed again another lad from Newcastle, Davy Young, who I played with at school in the Newcastle junior side. And Dave, he played for Sunderland in the cup final in '73. Dave signed for Charlton, and he was pretty damn good alongside me. So between us, we did not a bad job.
Now, I'm going to ask you about your health because we chatted about this on the phone the other day, and I said if you wouldn't mind talking about this. And Paul Bodin, one of our great fullbacks, Welsh international, he's recently been treated for prostate cancer and is healthy, thank goodness. You're going through the same thing now, aren't you?
I'm going through the same thing now, yeah. I had bowel cancer in 2018, and I had a great surgeon. He said to me, think of it as a big, long sausage. I'll snip that end, and then stick the two bits together and sew you up. He said, and I'll take the cancer away. And I've been checked regularly since. And on one of my checks, the word's happy with a blood count. Went back and they've discovered, I've got prostate cancer. They've told me I'll die of old age and not of cancer. So I certainly wouldn't put anybody off going to get checked. In fact, I think it's sensible. If you get the chance, don't leave it too late. I've had a lady on the phone to me today. I've had a course of tablets. I've had one injection. I've got to have another injection in about another 4 weeks, I believe. And then I will start radiation treatment in August, end of August. And I've got to have a month's treatment 5 days a week. And hopefully after that, it'll be gone.
Well, of course, we wish you all the very best with that. And what we'd love to do is to see you back at the county ground at some point in the future. It'd be lovely to see you back there. Have you ever been back recently or not?
I haven't been back recently. Funny enough, 2 or 3 years ago, there was talk of. I've been back once, I think, since I left. But 2 or 3 years ago, there was talk about. There was a big long list of ex-players' emails and things like that. And I was talking about getting together, but like everything else with these things, it's getting them organised and all the rest of it. And it's so. Yeah, I'd love to come back. I'd certainly come back. I can see it. Yeah, it'll be next year now, I think.
Well, let us know when you want to come down and we'll try and sort something out for you because it would be lovely to see you back there.
I'd love to come back.
Mr. Horsfield, it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. I can't tell you. Having watched you play so many times, over in that time that you were at Swindon, and enjoyed every game that you played in and all the goals you scored. It's a bit. I'm a bit like a kid in a sweet shop, I have to say. And seeing those medals brings back fabulous memories. We'll make sure we get you those programs sent to you as well. So
okay, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah, fantastic, Arthur. Thank you very much.
You're
and I'm sure we'll be having we'll have Vic talking about this for weeks now. So, but thank you very, very much. Thank you everybody for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Again, I will say, if there is anybody that you want to have on the sofa, please let us know. We will try our best to get them. It is getting harder, but we will try our best. So we will be back next week as normal. So we'll see you on Monday. Not sure who we'll have on yet. We've got a few dates to sort out with people, but we will have somebody on Monday. So until then, see you all at Hungerford tomorrow, and see you soon. Bye.